Hey everyone, my name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. I've got a lot of comments about a bunch of different topics. I'm going to cover three of the questions here that I'm looking at, and I think they're important to understand each one of these. So the first question is, maybe if you like, you can work out some examples showing when you decide how much you allocate towards a position and how you plan on how long to cost average into a position. So when do you stop cost averaging into a position? And that all that is based off of the ratio analysis. When it gets to a certain point where the ratios get expensive, I should say fair value to expensive, and you can find better opportunities somewhere else, I will stop cost averaging into the position. Another thing that you can ask yourself is, would you buy the stock that you currently have today for the price? And if the answer is no, you should be looking at strategies for an exit position. So it doesn't mean that you sell it right then and there. Perhaps it goes up, maybe it's still in an uptrend, but you're looking more for an exit strategy than you are in the accumulation mode. So that's kind of how I view when I stop accumulating assets. And typically what it looks like. So I'll be accumulating, let's say when I was accumulating SM Energy at $1.50 in that whole area, it went down to $1.42 is the lowest cost average I got on the stock. I was buying. It shot up higher. So then I focused my efforts on Contango and some of the other QEP, some of the other opportunities out there that I saw that were as good of value or better than SM, because SM went up like a rocket ship. And then I was like, well, I'm going to go to QEP, I'm going to go into MCF, I'm going to go into these other opportunities that are still down there, sitting there, waiting to be bought. So that's one example. So really what I do is I rotate between sectors, and I buy it, like I'll buy oil and gas, and then that goes up, and then uranium's still down, and I'll start buying uranium. That goes up, I'm like, well, there's some natural gas down here that's pulled back. So I bought SWN and Antero Resources. Someone brought up the Rico one. It looked like that chart was good. I bought that. I mean, I'm looking at all of the opportunities and cost averaging into what I think are the best opportunities at that moment. Right now, I'm looking at gold, silver, and those types of companies because they're down. And eventually, when that momentum slows down and turns, I'm going to be cost averaging into those. That's just because they're down right now. At some point, they're not going to be down. They're going to be at the higher end, and perhaps some of the other stuff's going to come pulling back at a different cycle, so to speak. So another question that somebody had, I'm just going to scroll down here real quick. It says, if the Federal Reserve caps the bond yields, does this keep long-term bonds from going up in yields, or is it just contained in the short-term bonds? So they don't want an inverted yield curve. So what they're doing is they're grabbing the short-term bonds and yanking them down so it doesn't go inverted. If we have problems, that's a signal to the market saying, hey, look, we've got problems. So they hold the short end down. The long end kind of floats around now a little bit. And if they do yield control curve, if they're controlling the curve, the yield curve control, perhaps they're buying all of it. Maybe. So some of these signals could get kind of messed up. Now, if they're holding these interest rates down, we're going to get larger and larger negative real rates. And negative real rates are really going to drive commodities far higher. I mean, far higher. Gold's going to rocket. And gold is basically the barometer of inflation. And all of these commodities are tied to gold. So they're all going to go up together quite substantially if they're successful at holding rates down. I don't think they'll be successful. I think rates are going to go higher, and I don't think they're going to be able to stop it. That's my take. Another one, there was another question down here. It says, I live in Oregon, and real estate prices have been unaffordable for years. You're saying that interest rates will not crash the housing market. Wouldn't payments go up with interest rates, making homes even more unaffordable? Unless you're talking about farmland becoming more valuable. So right now we are in a housing shortage. And what that means is that housing is going to become unaffordable. It's going to reach a point where if we have so many homes that are short, It'll be unaffordable for the majority of people that are wanting to buy homes because only the top few are going to bid and get them, if that makes sense. The whole point is when homes are going to be unaffordable when you have shortages. And when there's a huge surplus, like we had in 2010, that's when prices go down. So the key driver here is supply and demand. It's not interest rates. Now, I want to give an example here. One of the biggest booms in the history of America for home prices was in the 70s. It was a large boom because we had a demographic, the baby boomers were coming through and buying a bunch of homes. We had unemployment going up. So we had a big demographic coming. We had unemployment go up during this time frame, and interest rates shot to the moon during this time frame. And house prices went way up. Way, 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 way up. So did they get more unaffordable? Yes. And why was that? Because the demographic, because supply and demand. Interest rates during that time frame went soaring. So house prices went up when interest rates soared. And we're talking from 2%, I think it was 2% in the 50s and peaked at 20% in 1980, somewhere around there. That's how big of a percent it went up, 2 to 18, 20%. And you look at today and we're at like nothing. We're at record low interest rates. You don't top out at record low interest rates. You're going to top out with interest rates going much higher. The supply-demand balance of today's housing market is messed up. We are short 3.8 million homes. Now I'm just going to type this in and show you an article here. U.S. facing shortage of 3.8 million homes. Housing market short by 4 million homes. This one's nearly 4 million homes. It says U.S. is short nearly 4 million new homes, says the report. This is January 21st of 2020. The housing shortage in the U.S. is deepening despite strong demand, and a new report found that builders must construct nearly 4 million new homes to catch up. And they talk about 10 million households were formed between 2012 and 2019, and just 5.9 million new single-family homes were constructed during that period. That right there is your driver. That is going to be inflationary because we got to build 4 million new homes on top of the new homes that we're already building. And all those homes, or the majority of them, are going to get all new loans, which is inflationary. So inflation is coming because of this. Interest rates are going to go up. And I don't think unemployment is going to be as big of a drag as what most people think. Jobs aren't where inflation comes from. It's the loaning of money into the system through real estate. And it's those people who can afford homes. If people who lost their jobs could never afford a home, I don't know if that's going to matter that much. And I think we lost a lot of jobs that are that type of related. But they are inventorying the problem on the side, and they could hit all at once they stop all of these programs. That's the only negative thing that I could see coming ahead of us. Now, is it big enough to completely derail the real estate sector? I don't think so. I think it could slow it down, but I don't think it'll completely derail it because we're so short on the home build. If you guys like this content, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Leave comments below. If you guys need more videos on anything, let me know. It's important to understand this stuff. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.